I wanted to talk about some more about childhood emotional abuse and neglect and childhood trauma, because that's something I've experienced, and that's what I'm talking about on here on my YouTube channel, in the hopes that if there's anybody else out there who's experienced something similar, that you can take something from this. Maybe this will help you in some way or just make you feel less alone. So today I found on what I'm looking at on the computer, which I don't know why the brightness. Oh, I was like, it feels so dark in here. Like, why is this all dark? And like the video feels dark. Like the brightness was all the way turned down. So I told you every single video I have some kind of tech issue. Like it'll be something really stupid. So go ahead and laugh at me. Just go ahead. Just go ahead and laugh at me. Okay. Okay, anyway. So for today's video, I wanted to look at this. I found this article on Psychology Today, which I tend to peruse Psychology Today every once in a while, see if they have any new research or any new studies or anything interesting going on in the world of psychology, because I'm obsessed with psychology and that's one of my hyperfixations, and it's just something I'm really passionate about. Childhood trauma, 12 questions to help recognize childhood trauma. So it's a statement and you're saying whether like that applies to you or not, essentially, or like to a great degree or to a small degree. Number one, when I think of my childhood, I feel sadness or loss. I do. I definitely do. And a lot of time out in the past, like to go to sleep at night, sometimes I would listen to music, and it was always songs about childhood and, missing things in your childhood. And I remember every time I ever listened to, when I was a kid, even, every time I ever listened to those songs, the parts where the children were playing and happy made me cry. Always. And I always have gravitated towards characters in movies and TV shows and stuff that are independent children or orphans. Like just very distant from the family. So I mean that, like, when I went back, because what I've done is I've thought about a lot of these things, and then I go back and I'm like, okay, I did feel that way. Well, what are some of the reasons that I felt that way, or what was the environment like that could make me feel like, why would I get sad about hearing children playing? For me, that was when I was fairly young. And the thing is, I do not have a good memory of the earlier years prior to 13, because 13 is really where that big thing that I saw happened. But I suspect, and I feel like there were different things leading up to that related to trauma or neglect and things like that. That would give me that sort of distance, emotional distance from my family. And also, I mean, just like undiagnosed autism in a girl. So, but it's all of those things together is what really, really, really impacts how you grow as an adult. And it's really important to identify these things. Number two, I have difficulty getting along with one or more of my adult caregivers. It was more like, back and forth with them, because sometimes it was my mom, sometimes it was my dad that I was disagreeing with, but on the whole, usually my dad, because he was always the really assertive one and he made all the rules. So like I wasn't allowed to date. Okay. I didn't like that. I ended up like being able to go to the dances with a guy or something, but I wasn't allowed to date. I did not get a lot of the relationship talks early on, or when I was a teenager, about, what a good relationship is supposed to look like and what those dynamics are supposed to be. I only was shown through my upbringing what I saw, which when you're a child, you assume that what you see is what's real, because it's there and it's tangible and it's right in front of you. So the way that I viewed relationships was based off of what I saw from my parents. And that goes for everybody. That's in nature with other animals, it's natural. But the thing is, if you're not taught what is right and what is wrong when it comes to that, you're going to grow into an adult that will be very confused in relationships. So at number 3, it says, I worry that people will leave or abandon me. Oh, yes. I mean, my entire life, I've had those types of abandonment issues and things like that. And part of that, a big part of that, is my upbringing. My dad, for instance, we only saw him on the weekends, and my parents were not divorced or anything like that. It was because his work took him out of town pretty much every week during the week. He was out of town, and he was just, he worked for a company that install like fire alarms and smoke detectors. And so he was out of town doing stuff around the state, and so we only saw him on the weekends, and this for a very long period of time. Eventually, later on in my dad's career, when I got older, he didn't have to go out of town every week, and they had a local office, and then he could work from home in his home office sometimes. So, it changed, but for a large piece of our childhood, that was the reality, was that we only saw our dad on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because he was out of town. But he would always call every evening at the hotel. Like, he would call and talk to all of us and say goodnight and all of those things. But, he wasn't there during the week. And so I observed, at least I remember the weeknights, my mom would listen to music on the stereo. And in the dining room, we had this large stereo system with 2 big speakers. And she would listen with her big old nice headphones to her music in the evenings, like Elton John or whatever, her stuff she wanted to listen to, Led Zeppelin. And that's how I learned a lot about some of the older music that I like, was from my mom. And I remember as a kid, I used to love listening to the music with her when she didn't have her headphones in, because she would play it out loud until it was like bedtime. Then she put her headphones on when we were asleep. But I remember being there and seeing my mom drinking her Diet Coke, and Mom's Diet Coke was a special kind of Diet Coke that she drank in the evening, and that was a bourbon and Diet Coke, okay? And she was drinking that every night. I don't know how much she was drinking, because I just remember seeing 1 glass, but I was little, I was like in elementary school, so I doubt that I had a sense of exactly how much my mom was drinking on the weeknights, but she was, and I think she was lonely. And me seeing that, but not realizing, it's like I didn't put it together until being an adult now, that was my mom being lonely every weeknight because she did not have my dad here with her. She was lonely. And so I guess that's a big part of why I chose to go to music for emotional regulation at a very young age, because I saw that's what my mom did. Because when she was lonely, when she was upset, like a lot of times I would go downstairs and she would be listening to a really sad song and she'd be crying. And I'd be like, Mom, what are you doing? And she'd go, nothing. Like, and then sometimes when I was down there listening to music with her, she would be like, no, don't follow me around, like go. So she was obviously dealing with some things. I don't know specifics because I was a kid. Issues for me and fearing that someone will leave. I mean, that the lifestyle and the childhood that I grew up in with that, had a big role to play in that, I think. And so environmentally, you got to look at how how often were your parents around? What was their work schedule like? Because that really does impact these things like abandonment issues. Even if they didn't actually abandon you, the sense that they're gone for a long period of time, you don't have access to, especially when you are very young, that's going to really, really, really impact the way you perceive abandonment. Number 4, I struggle with relationships, platonic or romantic, or feel like I can't seem to have a healthy relationship. Yes and no. Sometimes. I guess I would say sometimes. Usually there's more trouble with romantic than platonic. So I didn't always used to be an introvert. I used to be very extroverted. And then I think after the trauma happened, I kind of shut that off and became more of an introvert and too nervous to kind of be fully myself in front of everyone, because I was shamed a lot as a child for my autism. My dad made fun of it, and my mom laughed with him. And I didn't even know that they were making fun of my autism until I found out that that thing that I did at a very young age is like a clear indicator of autism. And then, my mom became a special ed assistant. You wonder what inspired her to go from like a stay-at-home mom to entering the education field and doing that. Well, I don't know, but I suspect they never got me tested for anything, but I suspect there must have been a discussion with a teacher somewhere, because all of a sudden my mom was working with children with autism, but not with me. I was supposed to know how to do things, and I was supposed to know how to do math. And if I couldn't learn my times tables, then I would be grounded. Understanding of it is that was wrong, and it still is. But they don't understand that it's wrong. They don't understand that it's wrong. They don't understand how it impacted me from a very young age, to be pointing out like my stims and stuff like that. My hyperactivity as a child, I was very hyper, running around screaming and flapping my hands and shit like that. And I just thought, I always did that. But I know my dad always did make fun of me. He always called me weird. He always looked at me weird. He always gave me this look like, oh, she's like, That really had, and that was before the trauma between my dad and my brother. But I was always daddy's girl, and I always wanted to be like my dad. He was, at first, he was my best friend. Like, I loved helping him do, like, fix things, and like I helped him build the tree house. Like, I did a lot of that kind of stuff. I loved looking in my dad's toolbox at all the different tools and just like all of that. And then he did stuff on computers, and I like loved looking at the inside of the computer at all the cool stuff in there. And but I mean, Okay, so number 5, I worry that I am not worthy of love. I definitely used to think that for a very long time, and it's only until recently that I've been working on this stuff that I have learned to actually love myself and the person that I am. And for a long time I didn't. And I didn't think I deserved any. Number 6, when I think about my childhood, there are big periods of time that I do not remember. That's what I was talking about the other day, y'all. And see, that's the thing. Like, there are certain things from like when I was elementary school age that big chunks that I don't remember. And I just always feel like there's something, I mean, it could have just been like the buildup of many different things, like I said, or one thing. I don't know. I just know that, it started when I was younger. And I think, again, that partially has to do with the way my parents made fun of me when I was in elementary school, for like my different quirks and stims were a part of my autism. And I think it's likely that, and like I said, I don't exactly remember, but I feel like there's a part of me inside that goes, maybe there was a teacher that suggested that I had autism or that I needed to be tested. And my dad felt like it would be shameful. It would be shameful to be in a special education classroom. And then my mom becomes a special education teacher assistant because she's going against my dad, even though she also made fun of me. I don't know exactly what discussion was had between my mom and my dad and how that impacted things, but that was definitely something weird from my childhood trauma that I can't remember, but I feel like there's more to the story than I know. Number 7, it is difficult for me to spend time with parents or family for more than a short period. I need limited or controlled environments. Unfortunately, yeah. I usually only see them on the holidays. And I can't be there for very long because it just, it's like they don't really know me anymore. And so I always feel like I have to, it's like I'm masking for them. Like I have to put on this show for them of my accomplishments, of things I've done, because if I don't have anything good to say about anything that I've done, then, I'm a failure. Like, because they don't, it just always, it's that concept of love being conditional, and the love of a parent being, well, I'll only love you if you do everything the way I say and you don't question me. And that's not healthy at all, which is what I discovered, right? Number 8, I feel different or disconnected from others, or that others do not understand me. All the freaking time. All the freaking time, people. All the time. Number 9, I have a history of unhealthy relationships with food, alcohol, or other substances. Yep. Number 10, I find it difficult to trust or rely on others because I feel like people will end up hurting me in the end. Yeah, I do. It's dependent on a lot of things, but I find that I have more of those types of trust issues with guys than I do with girls, but I find myself throughout all my life having more guy friends than girlfriends because I felt like I understood guys better than girls in a lot of ways. So interesting. Number 11, I have been told that I overreact or respond with a much higher reaction than situations warrant. Yes. Okay. And for people who have been impacted by childhood trauma, that is normal. A lot of times it's a trigger. There's certain small things that, and maybe you're not even aware that it's a trigger, like the stovetop or something. And those kinds of things can really put us over the edge, upset us, or put us into some kind of depressive episode. Or if somebody says something in a way that triggers a past trauma even. So we're very sensitive. We are very sensitive. And it's important for us to understand our own sensitivity, but to also understand that people around us don't know that. So when we're experiencing these things in public around other people, we have to understand how they're not going to understand why you're reacting like that. So you're either going to have to explain that to them if it's already happened, if you've already had that meltdown, or you're going to have to try not to have that meltdown and go, okay, well, they're not going to get why I'm upset about this, but the only thing I can do right now is my job or whatever it is. Because a lot of times I feel like those kinds of things happen to me when I was at work or somewhere else, not at home, where I'm triggered and I have little patience for the world around me. Number 12, I've been physically, sexually, verbally, or emotionally mistreated by someone who's supposed to care for me. So that is, according to the Psychology Today article, recognizing childhood trauma. So like, if you weren't sure if something you experienced is childhood trauma, you know, if you answered those 12 questions and you answered all of those 12 questions with a specific thing, or like I was talking about, or that you've experienced that a lot, it may be something to look into. Like if you want to reach out to a therapist and try to talk to somebody about it and find out, like, is there something inside of me that's really bothered me my whole life and I need to address? Because once you address it, you're going to feel a lot better, because you're going to feel more confident in who you are. You're going to be able to let go of those things. And that's the really difficult part of it, is letting go. But eventually you're going to have to. If you want to live the life that you've always wanted to live, you have to come to terms with those things. It doesn't matter. You can't hide forever. So I think that's kind of where I'm at in my journey, and I hope everybody has a great day. Thank you for watching, and let me know in the comments if you have any childhood trauma topics that you'd like me to talk about, or something that you think would make a great video discussing this kind of thing, because I'm looking for some more ideas. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.